Which one of my twin daughters is actually mine? The realization hit me during bath time when both girls were splashing in the tub and I called out, "Lily, stop getting water on the floor," but neither of them responded. I tried again, louder this time, and both girls turned to look at me with identical blue eyes and identical confused expressions. My stomach twisted because I'd been so certain the one on the left was Lily, the one who always splashed too much, but now I couldn't remember why I thought that. They were 7 years old and I'd been their mother their entire lives, yet standing there with a towel in my hands, I realized I had no idea which twin was which. The thought was so absurd I almost laughed, but then I noticed the small birthmark I'd always used to tell them apart was on the right shoulder of both girls. That couldn't be right. I'd specifically remembered Lily had the mark and Nora didn't. But looking at them now, identical marks sat in identical places on identical shoulders. That night, I went through every photo album we had, looking for evidence of which girl was which. In the hospital pictures from when they were born, both babies wore identical pink hats with no names written on them. The nurse had assured me they'd put different colored bracelets on them, but in the photos, both bracelets looked the same shade of pink. I found our first family photo where I was holding both babies, one in each arm, but the photographer hadn't labeled which side was which. Every early photo showed two identical infants in identical clothes doing identical things. My husband Keith had left for a business trip that morning and wouldn't be back for 3 days, so I was alone with this growing panic that I'd somehow mixed up my own daughters. The next morning at breakfast, I tried a different approach and asked each girl directly what her name was. The one sitting on the left said Lily without hesitation, while the one on the right said Nora with the same confidence. But something about their responses felt rehearsed, like they'd been expecting the question. I asked follow-up questions about their favorite colors and foods, writing down their answers to compare with what I remembered. Lily said purple and macaroni, which matched my memory perfectly. Nora said green and pizza, also matching perfectly. Everything they told me aligned with years of knowing them, but doubt had planted itself in my mind and was growing roots. What if they'd been switched as babies and I'd just been calling them by the wrong names all this time? I served them cereal with trembling hands while they chattered about their upcoming school field trip, completely unaware that their mother was having an existential crisis about their basic identities. After dropping them at school, I drove straight to Dr. Patricia Chen's office without an appointment and begged the receptionist to squeeze me in. Dr. Chen had been our pediatrician since the girls were born and had seen them at every checkup and sick visit for 7 years. If anyone could tell me which twin was which, it would be her. Dr. Chen finally called me in, and I must have looked insane because she closed the door and asked if I was having some kind of emergency. I explained the situation as calmly as I could, about the birthmarks appearing on both shoulders and not being able to remember which girl was born first. Her face shifted from concern to something else, maybe pity or confusion, and she pulled up their medical files on her computer. According to her records, Lily had been born at 3:47 a.m. and Nora at 3:52 a.m., both weighing exactly 6 pounds 3 ounces. Dr. Chen pointed at her notes from their first checkup where she'd written that baby A, Lily, had a small birthmark on her right shoulder. But when I asked to see photos from that appointment, she explained they didn't typically photograph birthmarks unless they were concerning. I asked about blood type differences or any other distinguishing medical features, but she said they were genetically identical in every measurable way. She suggested I was probably just tired or stressed, and that this kind of confusion was normal for parents of identical twins. I wanted to believe her, but something about her tone felt off, like she was reading from a script of reassuring things doctors say to anxious mothers. As I left her office, I glanced back and saw her making a note in my file, probably something about postpartum anxiety even though my girls were 7 years old. The drive home felt surreal, like I was floating through someone else's life where mothers didn't know their own children. I picked the girls up from school that afternoon and studied them carefully as they climbed into the car. The one I called Lily got in first and buckled herself in the left seat like she always did. The one I called Nora took the right seat and immediately started telling me about her art class project. These patterns felt solid and real, ingrained through years of repetition. But then I remembered reading that identical twins often develop opposite but equal behaviors as a way of establishing individuality. What if they'd been sitting in the wrong seats from the start and I'd just gotten used to it? At home, I made them each write their names on paper, and what happened next changed everything. Full story is linked below or on my channel.